You can finally hear, huh? After all these years.
I know. I love it.
Greetings and salutations, everyone. You have tuned into No, you haven't.
Who?
Greetings and salutations, everyone. Today and every day, you've tuned into Hot Flash Universe.
Yes.
I'm your host, Walt Lusk, with Barbara Bishop.
Barbara Bishop.
And today we have a new show, and we're going to pick on mostly men today.
It's my favorite thing to do.
And it's entitled Why Men Stay Single, but the subtitle is Why You Ladies Stay Single Too. So
Yeah. You know, I am a newly single woman, and I've been on these dating sites for a couple of years. And even though these men say they want to commit, they do not. And I want to find out why.
You know, I've been divorced for quite a while, and it's a different universe, dating in these apps and meeting people. It's funny. I was talking to my daughter a few years ago. She's 24 and been married almost 2 years. Mm-hmm. And I said to her, you know, when you're your age, all you're worried about is, you know, can you get along? Can I make my car payment? And are we able to make our apartment payment?
Yeah.
And we'll figure the rest out, right? As a team, and away we go. And then in older, you know, you've got your car payment, your house payment, your retirement, kids, health, grandkids, house, job, and you know, whatever friends you've acquired and everything. And so it's an entirely different thing, and all these different moving parts have to mesh.
Well, and what I've noticed when I've met guys that, you know, are eligible or seem eligible is that they have been raked over the coals by their ex-wives, or so they say. You know, there may be another story, but you know, they don't have. I know they don't have the house anymore, the car. They're living in a one-bedroom apartment or sharing someone's house, or you know, whatever. And I feel really sorry for them because, you know, they supposedly had this life and now they don't.
And in many respects, they're starting over.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean,
yeah.
When I got divorced, had the whole friend thing, all the friends and all that jazz.
Yeah.
And in my situation, all but one went with my ex. Of course, she wasn't honest of why we got divorced, but be that as it may, which the kids never know because I refuse to put the kids in the middle.
Yeah,
but, you know, it was a lot like starting over, and it was really funny. And about 5 months after I was divorced, I realized it was the first time I'd ever lived alone.
That's really interesting.
I mean, you know, I'm living in the house of mommy and daddy, right?
Right.
Then I go to college and I have roommates. Mm-hmm. And then I left my roommate immediately and I got married. And now I'm divorced. And it took me about 5 months to one morning wake up and go, wow, I'm by myself
completely
for the first
alone.
time ever in my entire life.
So I wonder if men or women, you know, in that instance ever really grow up, you know, and whatever that means anyway, but.
And I remember I was in a business meeting and I thought, well, shoot, I'm just going to go to Laguna and have dinner. And I thought, oh, I don't have to call anybody. I just go. You know, after being married for 19 years, it was like, wow, this is different.
Well, and because I'm newly separated, almost ready to get divorced. He keeps saying divorce.
You're divorced. I
keep wanting to call my ex to tell him where I am. So it's like one of these habits, you know, 25 years, and it's a tough thing to get over.
It is. But again, once that happens and you get over that, then now you go, okay, I don't want to be single. And I believe it's a couple's world. So now what?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's why everyone's on these dating sites. You know, that's why I'm on these.
And it's funny. Everybody is looking for the same thing, right? Supposedly.
Absolutely.
But yet we still all can't quite figure out how to put it all together.
Yeah. I mean, you know, I go on these sites and everyone wants, you know, everyone says they're happy and they're well adjusted and they love water sports and the beach and travel. I mean, every one of them. And, you know, and they don't want baggage and they don't want drama. Okay.
But when you finally get down to the nitty gritty, it's a totally different story.
It really is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's quite interesting.
And some people, what frustrates me is I'm not looking for a pen pal. Right? You know, let's chat on the email forever. No. You know, let's text forever. No. Can I hear your voice? Can I make sure that you live near me?
And that you actually can speak English. That's some of the things that I have found.
For sure.
So let's get into it.
So
Tell me about men.
We're going to go major reasons why, starting out, why men and probably ladies stay single. First one is, just to start, this was a survey done earlier this year. It's finished. 13,429 responses on a popular Reddit thread site. And a lot of dudes' comments are pretty relatable. So the first one, the 9 most common responses, first was poor looks, including baldness and short stature. I found, talking to ladies, and maybe you can confirm this, Barb, is the one thing guys are not truthful about, aside from their age, is their height. And you ladies, I mean, if a guy is, 5'8" and he says he's 6 feet tall, you can probably tell from a distance that he's not 6 feet tall unless he wears his elevator shoes.
Right.
And okay, so he's not 6 feet tall, and I'm expecting this tall, dark and handsome guy. What else has he not told me?
Well, okay, I completely agree with you, but so this is number one reason that they're bald and short. Well, I happen to like guys that are bald, as long as they have really nice faces, nice teeth, a good smile, and I'm 5 something, and I don't mind a 5'8" guy. So I don't think that first one is a good excuse.
It's not a challenge for you, because it says here that their looks weren't as good enough to woo a partner like it was maybe back in the day. Right, so certainly personality traits like charisma, or even more importantly, confidence, can make a really huge, can really overcome that.
Well, I think that's sad. If a guy has a bald head and he's short, should not, lose confidence. There's lots of women, including myself, as I mentioned, that like that kind of guy.
Right, and they're everybody doesn't want the same thing.
That's right.
Right? The second one is low self-esteem, which again addresses confidence.
Yeah.
Right, and if they have low self-esteem and they have no confidence, that makes a challenge. I think their posture, their walk, their eye contact.
Well, and a divorce, especially a messy divorce. Thank God I didn't have one of those, but a lot of these guys have had horrible divorces, and women too. They come out of them with the lowest self-esteem they've ever had, and depressed, and thinking that they're a loser.
Yeah, of course, it's baggage. Low effort. Okay,
Baggage.
By not putting yourself out there, your lack of effort could be interpreted as being closed off and unapproachable.
Well, yeah, I agree with you. I mean, and what was the line again? You said they didn't want to make the effort.
They want to make the effort.
Well, I mean, if they don't want to make the effort, then obviously that's what comes out, is that they don't want to make the effort.
It shows, right?
And it shows.
Right. I mean, you come decked to the nines and they're in a T-shirt and flip-flops. It just, sometimes it's like, okay.
Yeah, although I have a tiny little story to tell, and that is I met a guy that I'm currently dating, and, he and I kind of got along, but he wasn't, asking me out, so I took matters into my own hands, and I left, and I gave him my business card, and I said, I am asking you out, so give me a call. And, that's a pretty bold move for me, though.
Well, again,
we've been dating.
One of the reasons why people don't meet is because somebody is shy. And for me, I think as a compliment, hey, you only get one chance to meet that person. What if you never met him again? It's like, gosh, what have I got to lose if I don't reach out and maybe you're in a grocery store or wherever, I don't have a challenge with it at all. It's like, oh, wow. Okay. You're kind of cute. Sure. Let's do it.
Well, then, you're not one of the guys that wants to stay single then, I guess.
No, I'm not.
Yeah.
As I said, I loved the institution of marriage. I just didn't like the institution I was in.
Okay.
Not interested in relationships. They are single by choice, and we're going to elaborate this probably later. But they just, I am what I am, and I don't want to change.
I think it's BS, but whatever.
Poor flirting skills was number 5. Frustration with their inability to pick up on signals and flirt effectively. And flirting is actually an art and a science.
Okay. Yes, I agree. But be yourself. You don't have to memorize a flirt.
No.
Just be yourself and smile and be happy, and I guess if that's what you call flirting, I'm a great flirter, but that isn't what I think that a guy needs or why he thinks that he wants to stay single. That's strange.
Introverted. Again, this is more along the shy and flirting skills. It's like a thought of approaching a cute stranger can be a very scary proposition.
Get over it.
Recently broken up. We already talked about baggage, bad experience in previous relationships. We talked about that as well, and then their belief in the overgeneralization that there are no available women.
So yeah, I mean, I sometimes feel that way. Or before I got divorced, I said, I don't know if I'm ever going to find another person. But there's a lot of us out there. And it's just getting over, like you say, shyness or lack of confidence. But there's a lot of us out there.
How about they have other priorities? I mean, the relationships are second or maybe even fourth on the list. Well, again, that's not your fault. They have very important goals and they just don't want Indians' distractions to stay focused because the relationships are a distraction because they take an investment of time and energy. And, you're talking on the phone until 2 a.m. and it's like, well, we were going to talk briefly and here we are 2 hours later. It's we're still talking or whatever.
Well, and, I think that's something that is their choice. It was my choice. I was a workaholic in my younger years because that's what I wanted to focus on, not anything else, especially my marriage. So I think that's a choice, and you really can't. I don't think you can change that.
No, that's a tall order. They're a love addict, just like there's drug addicts. There's love addicts, which people are addicted to depending upon relationships to feel good. People that are not love addicts can stay single for long periods of time without feeling bad. So, a love addict is they're stuck on the drug of being in love. They're in love with being in love, and it's abnormal to feel bad when you are single. So this article claims.
Well, I think that when you're single or away from a relationship, that you could definitely work on yourself. I mean, if you have baggage or need to work on some sort of a quirk, now's the time to do that.
Well, yeah, but again, you have to come up to the conclusion and the realization that, oh my goodness, I've got to have a relationship. Maybe I am addicted to love. Maybe I need to take a step back and look at things and go, oh goodness, and look, why do I feel this way? And some people are afraid to self-respect and self-inspect and look at themselves, and it's scary.
Or they don't even realize
they don't realize it.
Yeah, that they need a man or I need a woman, and then it's just it kind of repeats itself in disaster.
Well, again, they're having the expectation of what they were in is going to be a repeat, and if they pick a person that's similar, which we all gravitate toward, we're comfortable with, even if it was a master of disaster, it could be a challenge.
Well, I discovered, looking at the relationships I've had over the past years, and I attract sex addicts. I don't understand.
It's funny. I seem to attract alcoholics. The last 5 relationships I've had, I went with one lady. She said, "Oh, I don't drink." So on our first date, she's having a glass of champagne, and I'm thinking, "Wow, you don't drink? Let me guess. You don't drink, but you're nervous, so you're going to have a drink just to relax yourself." Yeah, how'd you know?
And then how many more drinks did she have?
She had one. The next one didn't drink either, but she had a drink when we were on our first date, and then she drunk texted me for 5 hours the following day, and she's had half a bottle of wine while she's cleaning her house. I just went,
okay. So they don't say they drink, but they do.
Yeah.
Kind of like I'm the first one the sex addict has fallen in love with, and they've never cheated before in their lives. Mm-hmm. It's a pattern.
Precisely. Another reason why is they feel they want freedom, which is another BS way of what we're going to elaborate in a minute on. They don't want to take responsibility. Okay.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. They want to be the sole master of their free time. I mean, if they want to go On a road trip, they're going to go on a road trip. If they want to go drinking with their buddies, they're going to go drinking with their buddies. If they want to go out with their boys that night, they're going to do that. So in other words, like a free spirit, and I don't need anybody to tie me down because I'm going to do what I want to do when I want to do it.
Well, that's, I pity them because that gets old after a while, I think.
I agree.
And I think that if you have a good enough relationship with the person that you're with, it's not that they're not going to allow you to go. You just go because you do, and it's okay.
Agreed. Now this article is written by a guy, and I love this explanation. They have a tremendously huge need for excitement. Being single guy is like going out in patrol in a combat zone every day, not knowing who you'll run into. Who knows what woman you'll run into, and you might want to get to know better. Every subway ride, every trip to Whole Foods is an opportunity for a new adventure. Every bar and party becomes high-stakes, adrenaline-pumping challenge, no less exciting than the twilight lion hunt or a safari in Kenya. And so what if you end up empty-handed? Tomorrow's a new day.
Okay, this guy's a dreamland. He's in La La Land. Doesn't make sense to me at all.
Fantasy Quest. They really have this perfect woman in their head.
Yeah.
Or two or three. And until they find that perfect one, they're not going to commit.
Well, and there is no such thing as perfection anyway.
Well, I have an expression, perfectionism is fatal, and I couldn't agree more. Yeah. They never grow up. They spend their days eating, sleeping, and playing, and they're not responsible and contributing to anything, and they don't really want to do that in another relationship. Another excuse that we're going to go into real quick is they're a man-child.
I know quite a few of those. But I mean, it's interesting because you talk about how, you went from living with your family to living with your buddies in school and then meeting your wife and, immediately moving in with her, and 25 years later or whatever, you're on your own. Sometimes people don't grow up because they have people around them and don't even know, who they are.
That's true. So I thought we'd dive in next is some type of single men that women most often encounter. First is Mr. Encourager.
Uh-huh.
They encourage you in your share of your dreams and your aspirations, and they're really cool to be around, and they're always giving you praises. But then again, once that gets old, then that all be turned off and become extremely boring.
Yeah, I mean, I think encouragement from a guy to a woman, I mean, I would like that. But at the same time, it would have to be real and, if
genuine.
Genuine. If he gets tired of it, then it wasn't really real.
Correct. Mr. Pleaser. He's amazing chemistry with who makes your heart flutter and your heart race every time he's around. You're physically attracted to him, and if you act on it too soon, your judgment can be clouded so easily that you think you're in love. And if you take intimacy away, you realize you may or may not have enough in common.
So what's the divorce rate in California?
Well, it's probably over 50%.
Right. I mean, people see how attractive they are and, jump right into a relationship, move in together, get married, not even get married. And they don't even know who they are. Like, I lived with my husband for a year, and I really didn't know who he was until... I see smelly socks on the floor and dishes in the sink. But he was on his best behavior until, much later.
Who is this masked man? Mr. Financial. He's always buying you dinner, taking you to wining and dining you, and he makes great business decisions and all that until he can't because he lost his job or he lost his money or he made that big investment and it didn't go through. Now what do you got?
I'm sure because of the recession or, depression, there's been a lot of those types around, and their personality changes to be the opposite, really. I dated a guy in my 20s who was like that. When he lost all his money, he started doing cocaine and flaking out.
When he lost his money, he started doing cocaine?
Well, yeah. Just started doing cocaine
really
and
cool.
not paying his bills and all of that kind of stuff. Of course, I did not stay with him, but, he just turned. He turned.
I hate when that happens. Mr. Homeboy, which basically they say this one's a person you want to maintain in your homebody. No, Homeboy. Stay maintaining your friend in the friend zone. Usually there's no romantic chemistry between you two, but you keep him just in case because you enjoy each other's company and neither want you to go places alone.
Well, does that mean that he's not fuckable?
He's not affable. That's correct. Mr. Intellect. He stimulates you mentally, hours and hours of conversation. There's never a dull moment. But then you take away the intellect. Is he really that great a debater? And, again, this is a person you just might want to keep in the friend zone.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't sound like there's sparks or sexual tension there at all.
Right. Mr. Fix-It. They'll come and fix everything. They'll repair everything. They always have a solution. He's coming up with a solution, which is sometimes really sexy, but sometimes you ladies, I know you have a problem, and all you want to do is vent and have somebody listen to your problem and not sit there. And us guys are so guilty about trying to fix things. If you get bored and you want to see something that's a really amazing analogy, it's about a 3-minute thing on YouTube. It's entitled, "It's Not About the Nail."
That sounds awesome.
I won't spoil it, but it's really cool. This boy and a girl are having a conversation, and she's babbling on about this, that, and the other, and he wants to fix it so bad. And anyway, there was a nail involved. It's not about the nail.
Yeah, no,
it's well worth checking out.
I think it's interesting. I mean, I think women and men alike want to feel that they're being listened to. And if you're trying to fix things, you're not really listening.
No, and then when he stops fixing things, okay, is he gonna try and fix the relationship? Right? Mr. Spiritual. You can't connect, but only on a spiritual level. Yeah, and it takes over everything else. Well, then lose the spontaneity and everything else. Once that spirituality connection kind of poops out. Now what?
I am attracted to, I think I'm attracted to that type of a person. But it just makes me crazy because that person has to be that way all the time. And so it just seems like it'd be a little bit too much.
Well, there's a point where you can over-spiritualize things. I mean, for me, I'm spiritual, but I'm not religious.
Right.
So,
right.
There has to be a balance.
Again, on these singles things, I believe in God, everyone, but I don't understand when people say, I'm a God-fearing man. Like, why does that have to even matter? I mean, that you fear God.
That's true. We could have a whole show on that.
Yeah, I know.
Mr. Adventurous. He's down for anything. This man is sometimes hard to find, so you keep him close because he's a diamond in the rough. Because again, as life is very unpredictable, health issues start to maybe family pressures at work could shift so that you have other things in common to keep the relationship interesting. So, but I don't know if that's enough to keep it interesting. So, and then lastly, Mr. Perfect. Every other woman in the room is smiling at him too and wants him. And so therefore, the two of you need to be so secure with each other that no matter what, even though other women are like going, oh my gosh, this guy's amazing, that he's really only has eyes for you. Well,
and it all depends on his reaction to the women who want them.
Well, yes. We have the aging player. He was really hot and fascinating and wonderful when he was younger, and all of a sudden, he's older and his looks have faded, and maybe he's gained weight, and maybe his money's gone, and so that's why he's still single.
Exactly, and we're talking about people, Hot Flash Universe, women over 50, and in this case, men over 50. So a lot of them are still living their lives as they were when they're 30, and it's not very complimentary at all.
No, it's not conducive. The bitter man, which says everything, He went through the ringer and he's still living in the past and is still bitter. The frantic man, biological clocks happen with us guys too. So we're frantic and hitting up on every dating site in the universe to try and find the one who just could be that one and might just be a good baby mama.
Baby mama. This is Hot Flash Universe, folks.
Had to throw that in. The divorced dad. Okay, so he's a great dad, but he's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 kids. That's not bad, but he's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 kids. The married guy who claims he's single.
Yeah.
I met a lady, and she was on a couple of dating sites, as she admitted. And from her church, she found 3 guys that were married at her church.
Yeah.
And she called all 3 of them and said, I found you, and if you don't take it down and grow up, my next phone call isn't to you.
Wow.
Yeah,
In her church.
She pissed,
Talk about
she was
spirituality.
Pissed, she was pissed off.
Yeah, I would say so.
She didn't want to date him, but it was like, oh my gosh, I know this guy and his wife.
That's very interesting.
And, that happens. I mean, a lot.
Probably more than you think. It's too bad.
I mean, one of my lines is, you're single, you're not married, you're not trying to get back at your boyfriend.
Well, and then on these dating sites, I'm a dad that loves his kids. And I don't know, is that attractive to females?
You know what?
I don't know.
I had a lady friend who was dating a guy, and his kid was in their mid-teens. So obviously had a few more years left before they got their driver's license. And basically told her, my kid comes first.
Yeah.
Always. So, if something happens or they need me, I'm going to bail on you and go with my kid.
Well, and, that's something that women have to watch. One of the things that I find attractive about men with kids is that I don't have children. So I feel like it'd be my ready-made family. But there's lots of problems that come with that, too. What if the kids don't like you, number one?
I had another friend, the same friend dated another guy. He was very successful and had a son. And all of a sudden, she was around the 2 of them, and he did not treat his son very well. He was yelling at him and humiliating him and treating him not very well, like a piece of garbage sometimes. And it just rubbed them the wrong way.
Yeah.
And it's like, holy smokes, when am I going to get in that category? Mm-hmm. And so it was a very short-lived relationship.
Good for her.
Yeah, it was. So you're so nice as a friend. In other words, they're totally forever in the friend zone, and they're never going to be effable at all.
Yeah, it's always like, when you're being fixed up with someone, well, he's really nice. I don't know what that means. I don't think it means,
No.
he's the right guy.
Exactly. The optimistic quitter, they're optimistic, but you know what? When things come to shove, and they might have a fear of rejection, so they bail on you before you bail on them, and they look for the first chance to do that because they just don't. They want the rejector versus the rejectee.
Baggage.
We talked about the man child. The guy who realizes he's effed up and refuses to date because of it. Well, at least he's being honest.
Really? Yeah. Maybe.
The guy who's legitimately happy and doesn't want to change. Oh, one of the things they said is, you get ladies, pick a guy, and you actually believe you can change them.
Yeah, well, when I was younger, I thought that I could do that. Love someone enough so they'll change and love you just as much. Well, that doesn't work.
I like this one. The catch. He's graduated from Yale. He's a kick-ass body, and no psychological issues, and no children. The problem is he's looking for the same thing.
Really? How boring.
Yeah, well, opposites attract, right?
Yeah.
And then there's like the choosing beggar. Basically, beggars can't be choosers, and they're actually settling for whatever comes along.
Yeah, no, that...
And that can be on both sides.
That's exactly what I was going to say, is that women do that, I think, a lot, and... just so they can say that they're married or that they have a boyfriend, or they do it more than men, I think. I don't know. What do you think?
I agree.
Yeah.
Then there's one which is really common, the workaholic.
Yeah.
They just can't find time to do that. Their mistress is their job.
Well, and I think that's a cop-out, too.
It's an escape.
I did it when I was married. I became quite successful, but had a really crappy marriage. So,
well, and then we were talking before the show about married singles.
Yes,
where you have a couple, they're married, but he does his thing, she does her thing, and there's even not joint checking accounts.
Well, that was
and
us.
that, in my view, in many instances, if that's the case, then there's a large prescription for disaster.
And it was.
Then there's the guy that realizes, why should I bother getting married? I mean, over 50% of all relationships end in divorce, and why should I even try and bother? Because, there's a high probability this sucker's going to end in divorce. I had a friend of mine call me up one time, and he was recently divorced, and he says, "I just found my next ex-wife."
Yeah, yeah. He's got a good attitude.
It's like, oh, really? That's really great.
And so was it his next ex-wife?
No, he actually married her. She was 42. She was 25 with a 2-year-old.
Oh, and they're still married.
I believe so. We lost track. The partier, right? He just wants to go out and have fun, dance, drink, and doesn't ever want to settle down.
That, to me, again, is sort of a lonely path to nowhere.
It's extremely lonely.
You know, I mean, if you're 60, 70 years old and doing that, ew.
Yeah, definitely. Ew.
Ew.
So we want to be balanced here. So these are 5 guys that you want to meet. The first is Mr. Reliable. He's he's on top of the go-getters. He blocks off time to spend with you. He's Mr. Reliable, can always be counted on whenever it matters, no matter what. In turn, you can't help it, but when you want him to be there, he's there for you. Now, some feel that's predictable and boring, but again, it's a matter of opinion.
Yeah, it's a matter of opinion. If the guy that you were married to or with before never was around, then that would be important to you.
The tell it like it is. Tough love is crucial, right? And there was a book written by a known psychologist, James Dobson, a long time ago. Love must be tough. A partner doesn't have a firm grasp on what's real, but he's a guy who can be honest about his emotions and open about other subjects. It's refreshing to find someone who can be highly communicative about his feelings rather than keeping you guessing.
Well, and it doesn't have to be tough love either. I mean, it doesn't have to be like nasty. It can be just being truthful and being able to communicate with your potential mate. And I think that's really important.
Communication is a big deal.
Yeah.
Mr. Forever Loyal. He has integrity and morals. And we all want that. Mr. Sensitive Soul. They more portray sensitivity. Some feel that it might portray a sense of weakness, but there's a lot of strength inside a sensitive man or woman. Wait for the guy who isn't afraid to express how he feels about you. And then lastly, the dreamy yet grounded. You don't want a guy who has his head in the clouds completely, but you don't want someone who takes himself too seriously either. His spontaneity, and he talks about his dreams and his ideas, and they keep the relationship fun and fascinating.
That's my kind of man.
There you go. So, I know. Now I'm going to go alcoholic story. I dated one lady. She met her last relationship at Alcoholics Anonymous.
Oh my God! Did you take that as a little cue?
Well, yeah, and that's one of the things here is you've got to be careful and look at the cues. I think we're going to find that in a second, and you got to be realistic. And it was real fast relationship, and we went on a July 4th party. And it was a big party, and a lot of the friends were there, and it was cool she invited me. Mm-hmm. 3 people came up to me in the span of a few hours who were there. Did you bring her? Well, yeah. Are you going to take her home?
Uh-oh.
Well, yeah, we came together, and I didn't understand the question.
Yeah.
She went starting with beer, then it was wine, then it was tequila, and I think she finished with fire water, cinnamon, bourbon.
Oh.
And I went, whoa.
Did she puke in your car?
No, she fell asleep within 5 minutes.
Well, that's better.
So here's a game, ladies, you can try. I thought this was fun. You get together with all your ladies, and you list all the sweetest, most romantic things that a guy that you like has ever done for you. And then, just to reverse it, you then talk about a list of the creepiest, scariest, most WTF things the guy that you didn't like did as well to get your attention.
Oh, there's stories here.
Oh, do tell.
Well, let's see. The most romantic. I mean, I love when men surprise me with, whether a vacation or it doesn't have to be expensive, but just that, he drops everything and makes me the center of attention. And so it could be, a bouquet of flowers or a trip. My one of my more memorable gifts was, it's probably not political right now, but a mink coat. It was beautiful.
Hello.
I mean, that was pretty nice. But the trip, I think, trips and romance on trips are the things that I most remember.
Absolutely.
And then the bad things are, there's so many. But I was having surgery. This is a real quick one, but it was crazy. I was having surgery. I called an old boyfriend of mine to let him know because we went back a long time. And he was mad because I wouldn't date him. So he said, my sister had that same surgery and she ended up dying of cancer. That's, that was awesome for me, before I went into surgery to hear that. Wow. So, yeah, I haven't talked to him since. Never will.
Wow. I just had my car fixed. A mechanic I have a real good relationship with, and he was all excited because his wife had been in some trip for about 2 weeks.
Oh, yeah.
And they were newly married.
Uh-huh.
And I told him, I says, listen, you have got to bring flowers. I promise you it'll be worth it. And, well, I've never done that. I go, well, she may think, what have you done while I've gone? But
Right.
realistically, she'll think it's wonderful and a wonderful gesture. And I said, you get boatload of mileage. Just go to the grocery store and buy a bouquet of flowers or roses or whatever.
Yeah, they're beautiful.
It doesn't have to be a lot, but they're flowers. And I saw him a week later, and I said, so how the flowers go? He says, Walt, you wouldn't have met you were right, man. It was a big, big hit.
He had a shining, halo of energy
He
around
had a big
him.
smile. He glowed.
I'm sure.
So these are 7 reasons why you keep falling for the wrong guy.
Oh,
'Cause we
boy.
got to throw the other ones, right? I'm a Libra, so we got to be balanced. First is you fear for being alone. Single is a dirty word. So women who know to enjoy their own company and build an independent, fulfilling life on their own are a much better catch.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of women don't even know themselves. And if they
Exactly.
don't, there's
Yeah.
no way that they're going to find a guy.
Yeah, exactly.
So they need to be comfortable. And I think women need to be by themselves before even committing to a guy or meeting a guy.
Yeah, I mean, I used to never go to a movie by myself. I'd stay home and watch one.
Yeah.
But now it's like, if I want to see a movie, it's like, well, I want to see it, so
Yeah.
I go see it, like as an example. I go, I have a good time, buy popcorn and do the whole thing. And that's that. You haven't given any thought to your relationship deal breakers. We talked about this. For me,
Yeah.
one of them is alcohol for obvious reasons. I cannot compete with a bottle of alcohol. And sometimes they turn into a Jekyll and Hyde. So what are your deal breakers? The laundry list of things you simply will not tolerate in someone you're thinking about getting serious with. And the point is, you've got to be honest with yourself and say, hey, what's going on? What's this about?
So why-
And that doesn't, you just got to be willing to cut bait if it's a deal breaker.
So why do you think that alcoholics are attracted to you or you are attracted to them when you don't even know that they are?
Well, my father was a functioning alcoholic for one.
Oh, yeah.
So could be.
Could be.
And again, I even say, do you drink? And they say no, right? So they satisfy that requirement up front.
Right.
Not that I'm not a drinker, but, and all of a sudden, boom, and they lied.
Well, like I said earlier, I have attracted the guys that I really liked were sex addicts. And, not just with me. That was
Yeah, that could.
that was kind of like the
big problem.
the straw that broke the camel's
Yeah,
back.
big
But
problem.
I don't know why, and I think a lot of it has to do with their mothers. Every one of them were, did not have a very good relationship with mom,
Exactly.
and I don't know. I guess they looked to me as their mother, or
We've already talked about the next one. You think you can change them.
Oh yeah.
Moving on. You haven't figured out what you need in life, independent of relationships. Again, you don't know yourself, and you just dive in from one relationship to the next, and 10 relationships down the road, it's like, okay, why am I still where I'm at, and why did I go through all that, and what's the dealio? So that's when a little therapy could help, actually.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I don't know what I think. I have to think
Okay,
about it a little
you
bit
ponder that
longer.
one. The next one is along the same lines. You choose guys who have eerily similar qualities. It's like basically you pick somebody like your dad,
Yeah.
and the relationship with your dad might have not have been the best relationship. So you pick somebody for some reason, you just attract them that's like your dad. And what you're doing subconsciously is you're trying to rewrite the story and have a happy ending with you in it.
Well,
And unfortunately, it really happens.
and it's interesting you say that because my ex-husband was very similar to my father in a lot of ways.
There you go.
But the other guys weren't. So I don't know. I have to go see someone so they can explain it to me.
You don't think you deserve better. So what that really means is you settle. And settling never works.
No,
It
and
really
a lot of
doesn't.
women in particular do that. And it's, it's sad. That's sad too. I think a lot of it has to do, though, with the media. Every ad you see, everything you see, every place you go, it's all about couples.
Well, as I started the show, I said it's a couple's world.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of pressure. I've got to find a date. I got to find a guy. I've got to do this. I got to do that. And all of a sudden, you're with somebody that isn't perfect, but maybe you might be, right? And you settle.
I mean, it's even like, cruise ships. It's cheaper if you have a partner than if you go by yourself. The whole world, or at least our world, is all about a pair.
Yeah, it's a couple's world, exactly. And, you go out, and I used to. I'll go out, and I'd go to a restaurant, and it's like, wow, look at all these couples and looking. But then when you look closer, one of them's on Facebook, and the other one's on Twitter.
That is so true. It's, the grass is not greener, my friend.
I went on a date, and the lady spent half her time on Facebook, and I'm thinking, okay, this is our first date. This is my first impression.
No.
Nah, it didn't work for me. So seriously, put the phone down. Seriously, if you put it down for 24 hours and if you only did one thing on that phone is maybe answer texts and answer the phone. Everything else on that phone will be there the following day.
That is true.
They want you addicted to the blasted thing.
I know.
You get little dings for Facebook, dings for Twitter, dings for news, dings for mail, dings for whatever.
That's how they train mice.
And I turned all these puppies off because I want to look at my phone when I want to look at my phone and when it's convenient for me, as opposed to dictating when I look at it. I did a story in a previous show. The average person looks at their phone like 250 times a day. Which is like every 10 minutes or something.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm probably worse. So, this show's about people over 50. And tell me, Walt, what do you think of the whole singles game now that, it's over 50?
It is a game. I mean, I found a real attractive lady, and I basically was trying to compliment her, say, hey, I get a lot of people that are interested in me, but I rarely respond to them, so thank you very much. And she just went off on, well, what makes you so special? And I thought, wait a minute, did I really come across as that much of an asshole? I was just trying to compliment her and says, hey, you caught my attention.
Right.
And I may have not explained it enough, but you could have given me another chance. Nope. And I had another one I talked to. I sent one email to her. She never responded. She blocked me. I'm going, really?
Why would she block you?
I never found out.
That's strange.
It's like, really? Okay. Yeah. It's just, you never know what they're going through at the other end, even though, because dating sites, sometimes it's like you're trying to apply for a job. Right? You got to read all these resumes, and then you got to get together for an interview.
That's right.
And I'm not a coffee guy. I just think, meeting,
I'm not either.
I don't even meet people at Starbucks. I'd rather meet them at a McDonald's than a Starbucks because it's a little quieter and you're not worried about all this stuff.
That's
right?
hysterical.
That takes all this time, and you meet them, and oh my gosh, it didn't work out, and so now I got to do it all over again. And I'm still the ultimate optimist. I think, I'm still believing there's somebody there out. I still do. And, it'll happen when you least expect it.
I know. But, it's interesting because, like, now the 20-year-olds, they don't really date. They hang out.
They hang out.
And in a group, right?
Yep.
Like, so how do they ever hook up?
Well, the extreme was when I was in college. I went to UC Irvine in Orange County many moons ago, and a certain time of guys would walk up to an absolute beautiful woman, and I saw it multiple times. The line was always the same: "What's your phone number? Let's get together." I kid you not. And I thought, if one woman out of 100 said yes, it just might be worth the rejection because I already expect it. So,
Right.
and my daughters and I have two daughters who actually take and return my phone calls. They thought it was hilarious, and so we tease each other sometimes about it. What's your phone number? Let's get together.
Well, when I was in my 20s, dating was, well, okay, when I was in high school, if you were dating for 3 months, that was like a major,
Ooh,
major
you're serious.
getting, going steady, wearing the guy's high school ring, whatever. I mean, it's so different now. And then in my 20s, same thing. I mean, we were dating dynamos. We were all going out
Dating
with
dynamos.
dating
Listen to you.
dynamos, going out with different people. I guess it's very, very different now. But then, how do you take that experience when you were in your 20s or 30s, 30 years from now, and find someone?
Well, let me take one suggestion, which has worked for a lot of people. If you've never heard of Meetup, MEETUP, it's
Yeah.
www.meetup.com. There are a plethora of groups that get together with a common interest. And like, for example, I have one with UFOs, and there's a meetup for MUFON, Mutual UFO Network. I met a couple of folks, and we hang out. So it happens, but you just got to go a few times to make sure you're not just a fly on the wall, and you scope out who's interesting, and maybe sit next to them, and what happens. Or it's just amazing the different things. I mean, there's guys that just go to bars and meet girls. I mean, you can find anything in a meetup. It's hilarious, and it's a big group. It's like, this is
guys
no,
who
thank you.
meet up, guys who go to bars to meet girls.
Yeah, it's a huge group, and they're
that's
all in their 20s and
hysterical.
30s. But
Yeah.
it's like, no, never mind. But again, just tootle around, and you have nothing to lose by hiding behind your computer and going to meet up and finding a group of an interest. I mean, maybe you like advanced underwater basket weaving. Well, you know what? There might be a group for that.
Well, you know what I want to do? I want you to do it with me.
What's that?
Goat yoga.
Oh, you were telling me about goat yoga before the show.
Yeah.
This is yoga actually with a goat?
So it's yes. So it's a meetup. It's on Meetup.
To see? There it
Okay.
is.
So if you're interested in yoga and goats, you can have them both together.
You've just been goading me on this. I just know.
No. This is a fact, my friend. So you go and you do yoga, and it's outside, I guess because of the goats. But, the goats are free to jump on your back when you're doing the downward dog.
The hoofs rocking on your back. Yeah,
Or sit on your lap when you're doing your ohms. All kinds of stuff. The other thing that they actually do and let them do is they can pee on you, which is kind of gross. I wouldn't want that.
I don't think it's kind of gross, Barbara. I think it's just, no, thank you.
And it's $30 a person.
Okay.
No, you don't want to go.
No,
Okay, fine.
no,
I'm going.
I'll do. I've done yoga, but
Goat
I
yoga.
haven't done hot yoga. I haven't done hot yoga yet, but I don't know about goat yoga. One I'm going to touch on real quick here, and we're about done, is about self-esteem. If your self-talk was actually stated to your best friend, in other words, they heard exactly what you say to yourself, would they still be your best friend? And if not, then you have got to sit down and put an end to your self-talk. And there are lots of ways to do it, and I'm not going to get into it, but it's not easy, but you are worthy. When you were born, and I want you to do a test because it hasn't changed, look in the mirror the next time you're in any mirror, and I want you to look on your forehead and see if it actually has the phrase, you are worthy on your forehead. Mm-hmm. And if it's not there, you are worthy.
That's right.
I promise you. And a little bit of confidence and just getting a little bit out of your comfort zone, which some feel in my industry is your comfort zone is your failure zone, you would be amazed. You got nothing to lose going to meet up, paying $15 and meeting some people. So what if you left? It was either stay home, watch the reruns of Bonanza, and eat bonbons, okay? You're better off getting out and doing it because the first time you do it is the most challenging, right?
Yeah.
And so what, it didn't work? You'll learn something. Maybe you met some interesting people. Maybe it's like, well, there one guy was kind of cute. Go back.
Yeah, I think it's cool. I mean, even if you don't meet like the man of your dreams, you can still meet a whole new set of friends and
Maybe he has a brother.
me. Oh, I ask everyone if they have brothers.
Oh, you do?
I do.
That's funny.
Or, fathers, depending on who I'm talking to.
Oh, yeah. Sure. Yeah. There you go. Another kind of networking.
You got to mind it.
So anyway, that's our show. And if you want suggestions for a show, you can write us at info at hotflashuniverse.net. And you can also find us on YouTube, Stitcher, iTunes, soon to be iHeartRadio, here at UBN Radio, which is Universal Broadcasting Network, UBN Radio, Google Play, and iTunes for starters. And we are open for any suggestions for a question you may have, actually suggestion for shows, or you just want to make a comment.
Call in.
And call in. We didn't. I didn't put the call show on it today. Forgot to. So we were having too much fun. So anyway, that's our show, Hot Flash Universe. I'm your host, Walt Lusk, and of course we have
Barbara Bishop.
And we are here every other week here at UBN Radio Network, and we throw these up on YouTube. So we love the likes, just the shares, and subscriptions. So until then, everyone, God bless.